I'm attempting to hardcore Nuzlocke Pokemon Omega Ruby using only the worst types, Bug and Grass. Let's check it out. It's incredibly difficult to choose the Grass starter over my favorite type, Fire. Plus, Trico is the only starter in this game that doesn't get a dual type. Let's just hope that's because he's uber powerful. I chose Omega Ruby over Alpha Sapphire, meaning I'll have Team Magma to contend with as well, but that comes later on. What comes now is the last added challenge that by choosing Trico, my sweetheart Brendan gets Torchic for his starter. As always, I name my starter Louie, and then catch my Wurmple and name him 1. I sneak up on a C-Dot with special move Beat Up and name him Corn cause, well, it's an acorn. The addition of sneaking up on Wild Mons in this Gen 3 remake is pretty cool, because there's a chance you sneak up on one with a rare ability or a special move outside its typical level up learn set. I also sneak up on a Surskit with the sweet move Fell Stinger and name him after the most sexual spider known to man. I mean, seriously, which scientist was like,
"Let's name this one Daddy Longlegs,"
and the other was like,
"Yeah man, that's perfect."
Anyways. One evolves into Cascoon, so I double back to the Petalburg Woods and sneak up on a Silcoon with 0 special moves, but decide to name it Foxy despite its lack of, well, foxiness. There I also catch my Shroom Pokemon, 420. Next up is Rustboro, and I sneak up on an Nincada on Route 115 named Harvey as in Two-Faced Harvey Dent, since Nincada will split into 2 Pokemon, assuming I don't f*** it up. I run back to the Poke Center in hopes of checking out Nincada's sweet special move, and nada. That wraps up all the Bug and Grass encounters before the first gym fight, so I evolve Foxy and 1 into Beautifly and Dustox respectively, as well as Corn into Nuzleaf. I guess that's one advantage Bug types have. They evolve early, providing a nice boost in stats. For Roxanne's ground and rock types, I opt for Louie and Corn as they both know a solid grass move. But it turns out that Corn wasn't even needed thanks to Louie's Mega Drain. 2 drains for Geodude due to his rock sturdy, and then another 2 drains on Nosepass, ends the first fight in about 1 minute flat. Badge number 1 and a victory for the grass types. Let's keep count, shall we? On the way to Dewford, Louie evolves into Grovyle, and I level up the Lepidopter twins to the level 16 cap for the fight against Raleigh. But it turns out I only needed 1 Mon again, as Foxy's flying types get me 2 Okos with Gust to end the fight before it even really started. Maybe the Bugs are worth more than I've given them credit for. Well, we'll see when we face Flannery. But for now, we have badge number 2 and a first victory for the Bugs. After thwarting some Magma flunkies, I catch my Oddish Blueberry north of Slateport and evolve it to Gloom, and begin the campaign for the first tough-ish battle of the game. For Watson, I kept Nincada intentionally unevolved to leverage its stab ground type moves and pair him with my 2 stat reducer Pokemon, 420 and Blueberry. I start the party with Gloom in hopes of putting Magnemite to sleep and taking him out, but after an unfortunate wake-up, Thunder Wave, Super Potion, Volt Switch, I swap to Harvey after a well-timed sleep powder from Blueberry. Harvey's Mud Slap decimates both the Ace and the aforementioned Magnemite. Voltorb, however, doesn't have the Steel Dual type and proves more difficult, so it's time for some strategy. I swap in 420 to Leech Seed my last electric opponent, and since Voltorb is locked into a rollout, despite its reduced accuracy, no potions and a victory for me, or, well, the Bugs. 3 badges in, and the grassy Bugs are doing their job pretty well. No deaths anyways. Next I sneak up on a Volbeat that I name M&M, and despite how special the real Marshall Mathers is, my Volbeat has nothing special at all. On the same route, I catch my BFF Rose, Aaliyah. Then comes the fun part in the form of the first battles with fire types, and first up is Magma Leader Maxie. I have to keep my party under level 28 for Flannery's cap. My Blueberry flawlessly takes care of Maxie's Mightyena thanks to a Persim Berry and a successful sleep powder. Then a final Mega Drain seals the deal on the mighty Mightyena. Now on to Camerupt. Things are going very well with another successful sleep powder, and then a swap to my unevolved Daddy Longlegs for a dousing of Bubble Beam. That takes care of Camerupt, but now it's Golbat, for which I have no stab moves, and all of my Mons are weak to its flying moves. I swap back to Blueberry for another sleep powder, in the hopes that one can take Golbat down with Psybeam, but it doesn't do much, and Golbat reawakens. I swapped to Corn to try out his special beat-up move, and it gets us pretty close, but Golbat outspeeds pretty much my whole party, and Blueberry can't take another hit, so I have to be strategic about a switch here. I swap to Louie, who should be able to take one hit before landing the final blow of a quick attack and gets us through by the skin of our teeth. So now on to Flannery, the most dreaded battle of the whole game. Every single mon in my arsenal is weak to those beautiful, wonderful, ethereal, magical fire types. Dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? Anyways, but I'm going in with Louie, whom I taught Dig, Blueberry with the lovely Sleep Powder, and of course Daddy, who is still unevolved and water type. His unevolved stats are pretty bad, so it's definitely a gamble, but I think the stab water moves are worth the risk. I think. First up is Slugma, an easy-ish opponent, so I start with Louie and Dig for an easy Oko. So far, so good. I don't think Daddy stands a chance against Torkoal yet, so I swap in Blueberry to put Torkoal to sleep, and down goes Frazier. The first death, and it's a tough one since Blueberry was my sleep master, and now I'm where Daddy is doomed. Sunny Day takes the wind out of my team's sail for sure, but instead of Water Sport, I decide to stick it out even after a Hyper Potion, and we get oh so close before the final blow takes Daddy down. I have only my Louie boy left, and luckily Flannery does not use another potion, so we take Torkoal down, but Numel's ground dual type means I can't use Dig here, so I opt for Leaf Blade and land a crit for a sweet, sweet Oko. Well, it wasn't easy and we suffered heavy casualties, but we made it. Another point for the grass types and a gym badge for me. Now that I've got my Go Goggles, I head into the desert ruins to snag the claw fossil and resurrect it to my Anorith Sid, like Sid the Sloth. I mean, look at those eyes. There in the desert, I also catch my Cacnea that's as prickly as your mom, and then circle back a few routes to catch my Illumise named Ray. Recognize him? Next up is Norman, and here a little bit of strategy should go a long way. My fighting type 420 takes down Dad's first Slacking and Vigoroth pretty easily. The ace Slacking, however, is the true test here. I switched to Sedinja, hoping Slacking would opt for a normal type move, which he does, and confused him with a Confuse Ray. Another swap while Slacking, well, slacks off, thanks to the Truant, and a lucky Confusion Hurt allows me to poison the beast as well before another strategic switch back to my Ghost type. After a couple switches and half HP, it's time to attempt the final blow, hoping against all hope that the Confusion holds one more time, and it does, allowing 420 to land the final punch. An easy win for the green team, and yet another badge from my growing collection. Then, despite the excitement of receiving a Latios, it isn't usable in this challenge run, which is just so sad. I mean, I'm hand-delivered a legendary gift box wrapped and topped with a bow, and all I can use it for is fly out of battle. So I kept on toward Fortree and sneak up on my Tropius, Littlefoot. If Flannery was most dreaded, Winona is a very close second. Once again, every Pokemon I have is weak to her flying types, so time for some strategy. I start with a favorable rock flying type matchup and eat up one of her Hyper Potions before Sid takes Swallow down with an Oko. Skarmory is the hard one to plan for though, because I have no super effective stab moves for steel types. I swap to your mom to try its dark moves, and we get oh so close, but the sucker punch isn't enough, and Skarmory takes out your mom. I hope you're okay with that. What? I send out one to finish the job, and then poison Pelipper before taking it down with a doubly powered Venoshock. This leaves just the ace Altaria, which doesn't quite go as expected. I keep one out long enough to poison Altaria before swapping to BFF, where it becomes a battle between BFF's Giga Drain and Altaria's Roost, combated by a bad poisoning. After a slow whittle down, and I mean very, very, very slow, the bad poisoning finally takes the ace down, and we scrape by with just one loss. Badge 6, but a tough call, and where the point goes here, both sides took 2 Mons apiece down. I guess they can each get a point for this one. After taking a moment to appreciate the top-notch graphics of this remake, and evolve Corn to Shiftry. Next up is Liza and Tate, but with Corn's physical Leaf Blade and Louie's special Grass Knot matched up respectively against Lunatone's lower defense and Solrock's lower special defense. Both are a one-hit KO for badge number 7 in literally less than 20 seconds. An easy win for me and the grass types. I then head to Sutopolis to follow Groudon into the Cave of Origin, where I have the misfortune of having to kill him before heading on to what should be a piece of cake final gym badge. But first, let's take a second to appreciate the primal reversion here. How glorious. Ah, if only. Anyways, on the way to Wallace, Louie grew 1 level over the cap, and he's my main mon for this fight, so I decide that a valid punishment for his technically being ineligible for this fight, and my blatant disregard for the rules, is that Louie must solo this fight or it's game over.
Say what?
I risk a self-imposed reset here instead of changing up my strategy, because let's face it, Louie really is the best, and his speed is incredible. It's a bit of a gamble, but here we go. It starts out well enough with an Oko on Love Disc, but then comes out Ace Melodic, who knows a potentially catastrophic ice move. I get super unlucky with a freeze, and I'm worried this is it. I'm not allowed to switch Louie out, but by the grace of the Nuzlocke gods, after a Hyper Potion from Wallace, Louie thaws out and with his speed lands a Leaf Blade and takes down the Ace. Holy crap, what a moment of panic. The rest of the battle, however, is a cinch. Louie Okos the rest of Wallace's party for the final gym badge. Whew, that was close. And a well-earned point goes to the grass team. It's looking pretty one-sided here, Bugs. Maybe step it up a notch in the E4 battles. Okay, thanks. The time is finally here to prepare for the E4. I level Foxy, Ray, Horn, Louie, Sid, and 420 to the champion's ace level of 59 and teach them a few strategic TMs for the mons I don't have stab moves for. Skarmory and Sableye, I'm definitely looking at you. We have an even split between bug and grass types in the party, but the score is 6-3 in favor of the grass mons. And off we go. First up is Dark type wielder Sydney. Foxy's Bug Buzz should take care of the whole squad, but Sydney's party has some priority moves, so I risk a Quiver Dance at the start to raise my stats, and it pays off. Foxy Okos the whole party and takes virtually no damage to easily defeat Elite Four trainer number 1. A very clear point for the bugs. So on to number 2, Phoebe and her ghost types. Horn's Dark Pulse should take care of most of the team, but Sableye presents our first challenge. Corn's Dark Pulse Okos Dusclops, so Phoebe sends out her ace Dusknoir, who lands an Ice-type crit, which is a lot of damage early on. After a couple full restores, Corn takes down the ace, and then as predicted, out comes the problem child Sableye. I switched to Ray, who I taught the fairy move Dazzling Gleam, since this is Gen 6. With Phoebe out of full restores, 2 Dazzling Gleams takes down Sableye, so I switch back to Corn. He survives the switch out with a bad poisoning, but Okos the last 2 Banettes to finish the battle strong and defeat Elite Four trainer number 2. A point to the grass column. Next up is number 3 Glacia with her terrifying ice types. My strategy is Sid's rock type moves, but his speed is atrocious despite his held Quick Claw, so this battle is worrying. His Quick Claw allows him to get his rocks off first, get his rock slide off first, which still also sounds bad, but nevertheless, Okos the first Glalie. Naturally, she then sends out Ace Walrein, so I switch to Louie, who takes the surf with ease. Walrein's massive weight is against him, as one grass knot is an Oko. I switch back to Sid, who Okos the rest of the party with Rock Slide and some help from the Quick Claw to make this battle surprisingly easy. Down goes Elite Four trainer number 3, and a point for the bugs is well deserved. This has been easy so far. Too easy. On to the final of the E4, Drake the Dragon Master, for whom I actually have the same strategy as the last battle, Rock Slide and Grass Knot. Sid makes quick work of Altaria with an Oko, but the Kingdra presents a problem with his moves Yawn and Ice Beam. I swap in Louie and Mega Evolve him, but but Grass Knot isn't enough to OHKO Kingdra with his Dragon Dual type and pretty decent special defense. He hits Louie with a yawn, so I have to swap to Corn to avoid Louie falling asleep and wrecking my plans for the rest of the battle. This forced Drake to burn his first full restore. Corn doesn't OHKO either and gets hit with a yawn, so I switch back to Louie, assuming Drake would use his second and last full restore, which he does. Since I can't OHKO with Louie's Grass Knot, and Kingdra knows Ice Beam, which he will surely opt to use here, I swap to Sid to take the ice hit and then do some damage. Luckily, he survives a very close call with Surf, so I switch back to Louie to hit him with the Grass Knot that seals Kingdra's fate. That was all just for Kingdra. We still have the Ace Salamence to deal with, and right on cue, he comes on out. However, a lucky crit with Dual Chop ends the Ace in one turn, leaving only a pair of Flagons. Mega Evolved Sceptile takes them both down with a couple Grass Knots apiece to end Drake and the entire Elite Four and move us on to the champion. This is definitely a point for the Grass team. Then this is where my strategy gets a bit hectic. The champion, Steven. I have no super effective stab moves for Skarmory, but I did teach my Ray Thunderbolt, so we have to hope it's enough. And that's where we start with Little Ray. And after that, absolutely nothing went to plan. Skarmory lays spikes the very first move, so I'm already panicking. But a second Thunderbolt takes Skarmory down. 1 down, 5 to go. We got this. Next up is Aggron, so I switch to 420 and his fighting moves. A Focus Blast should have killed him, but Aggron's annoying sturdy prevents that and set off a chain of events not at all as I planned. Steven burns his first full restore, and I hit him with another Focus Blast, that damn sturdy that I very well knew about and chose to ignore. So Aggron survives the hit and lands the killing blow to 420, and that's a hell of a blow. So I send in Corn and prayed Steven would use his last full restore, but he's smarter than that. So Steven lets his Aggron go down to keep a full restore in his arsenal. I've got to get him to use it before he sends that Metagross out. Steven then sends out his own Sid, and thinking of the spikes, I keep Corn out, praying a Leaf Storm would OHKO, and I could switch him out before his lowered stats could be an issue, except no OHKO, yes issues, and death number 2 in this final battle. Yikes. So I send my Sid out and knock Steven's out with an ancient power that did not up my stats. Of course it didn't. Next Cradily comes out and I keep Sid out. Cradily confuses my Sid, and the Nuzlocke higher powers of random number generation did their worst. Then Sid snaps out of his confusion to end Cradily. We're down to the last 2 Mons, and I decide to chance the Quick Claw coming to my aid, but it does not, and down goes Sid. Another tough loss. I really needed him for the Ace Metagross, so I'm feeling incredibly screwed at this point. It's time for a last-ditch effort, a Mega Evolved Louie. He comes so close to taking out Claydol, but then a blessing came in the form of Steven's final full restore. They're all gone, and Louie OHKOs Claydol with a Leaf Blade. And now for the final Pokemon of the whole entire challenge. It all comes down to this. A Metagross destined for Mega Evolution. Louie lands a crit, but if that's all the damage a crit does, then I'm actually worried now that I can't beat this one single final Pokemon. A single Giga Impact takes out my beloved Louie, and now it looks really, really dire. I send Ray out hoping that Bug Buzz would do the trick during Metagross's recharge, but it's not nearly enough. I'm down to my very last Pokemon, Foxy. Is that a voice I hear?
No way we got this far to lose on the very last Pokemon. Get your together.
Whoa, okay, Foxy. Duly named, I guess. During Metagross's recharge, I prayed one more Bug Buzz was enough, and by the grace of the Nuzlocke gods, it is. Foxy the Beautifly, the last Mon standing, takes down Mega Metagross to seal a Pokemon Omega Ruby hardcore Nuzlocke win by taking down Steven, champion of the Elite Four. Wow, what an incredible bug. Wait, did I just say that? So did this challenge change my mind about bug and grass types? Well, they both had some really good advantages and some brutal disadvantages, but that's true for every type. I will say they performed better than I thought they would. However, I did rely on their secondary typed moves more often than their bug and grass type moves. However, the grass and even the bug moves did come in pretty clutch early and late game. So do I love them now? No. Do I respect them now? Also no. Completely kidding. I would say that these mons earned my respect. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this, make sure and subscribe for more tipsy video game content like it.